Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Inside Inter Miami. I'm your host, Andre Fernandez, Deputy Sports Editor at The Herald, joined as always by Micael Kaufman, our Inter Miami beat writer. Back to talk a little more about the club, the Pink and Black, who now have another big addition to their team. They have officially signed Monterrey forward German Berterame, a $15 million deal through the 2028-29 season with an option for the following year. We're going to break down that big signing and see what kind of impact that could make. He made his debut already in Miami's 2-1 win over Atlético Nacional in Colombia. Another big preseason, a big notch in the preseason tour. This time Miami comes out on the winning side. Big event there. Obviously, everybody, the fans in Colombia, are really excited to see Messi and everybody else in their home country. And we'll review what happened there, how the team looked compared to the first preseason game. We'll update you on Sergio Reguilón's injury status, and hear a little bit from Bertrame himself, a little bit from Micael, the other big debut for Miami. We'll hear a little bit from Dane St. Clair, who's also getting comfortable in goal as the new starting goalie for this club. And we'll hear from David Ruiz as well as we dive a little more into the team that is now halfway through this preseason tour, Michelle, as they get closer and closer to that big game on February 21st to kick off the season against LAFC. But let's start with your boy Berterame. How did he look? And he's finally here.
He's finally here, and we have learned to pronounce his name, German Berterame.
That's right.
German Berterame. Say it 3 times. German Berterame. Okay, don't say it fast. It's a hard one to say fast. No, I mean this is a really significant signing for Miami. It was a $15 million transfer, which is a really big chunk of change to be paying for a player. He is a designated player. So the 3 DPs are now Lionel Messi, obviously, Rodrigo de Paul, and German Berterame. By the way, all 3 of them were born in Argentina. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. Anyway, but he does play for the Mexican national team. I'll go through his background a little bit, but he's a really very good, productive forward. Obviously, they still have Luis Suarez. We're going to talk about him in a bit because he did score in the game in Colombia. But obviously, he's in his last season. They're looking for a forward of the future. And this guy is 27 years old. He's been very productive for Monterrey. He started in Argentina, where he's from. And then in 2019, he went to play in the Mexican League. And he played there, did well, was signed very briefly by Atletico Madrid. Very briefly. He only lasted 3 weeks there, and then Monterrey bought him. But in the meantime, Atletico Madrid still owned 30% of his player pass. So this $15 million deal that was just made, Atletico Madrid also got $5 million out of that deal because Monterrey owned 70% of his pass. Atletico Madrid owned 30% of his pass. So Atletico Madrid also made some money on this deal. Bottom line is he's a forward who's going to be playing alongside Lionel Messi. He's a productive guy. He's 27 years old. They signed him through the 28-29 season with an option for 29-30.
There you go. He gets
so
good salary, yeah, and a good another option to have in that long term. The way they've been doing, with a lot of players to kind of develop, to kind of put together a core that can sustain this team even beyond Lionel Messi's playing days in a couple of years, and keep.
Yeah, I think that's really important that they're signing these players for long term. And Javier Mascherano said it last week. He said we can't keep. It's not good for the club to just every year have to rotate so many new players and introduce so many new players and integrate so many new players every offseason, especially this team that is going all over the place for their preseason. So they're going to have a good core of their team together, at least, on paper right now through the 28-29 season, which is good for the long-term sustainability of this club. But he's a guy who's obviously very interesting. He's from Argentina, but plays for the Mexican national team. In July of 24 is when he became a naturalized Mexican citizen after playing there for years. And so he is on the Mexican national team. He just scored for them they had a friendly against Bolivia and they won 1-0 and he scored the only goal for Mexico in that game. He is definitely in the running to have a roster spot for the World Cup for the Mexican national team. So Inter Miami have a Mexican national team player in this World Cup, which would be exciting for Inter Miami fans, in addition to having Messi and Rodrigo de Paul and Ian Frey if Jamaica makes it. So anyway, we got a video. Yeah. No, I think he's we haven't seen that much of him. He came in the game the other day. By the way, he's still awaiting his papers. So he doesn't have his U.S. work papers yet, his U.S. work visa, but he can play in South America. So he was able to play and make his debut. And by the way, he showed how committed he is to this team because he flew on his own. The deal was finalized on Friday. The team was already en route and he made his own arrangements to get to Colombia. So he's very, very eager to get started, and he got to make his debut. He came in the second half. Obviously, has never played with these guys. Literally got off the plane and played a game for them. So
that's great. That's valuable. That's valuable minutes. Valuable minutes for them as again that whole process of gelling all these new pieces together in the preseason.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's supposed to be a big star for this team, and it was a very big signing. The third DP spot that everybody was waiting to see who's it going to be. This is who it is, and let's hear what he had to say about why he came here. These are our first video interview with Berterame.
Primero, tengo muchas ganas ya de estar acá con el grupo, de conocer a todos, todo el staff, a todos los que están trabajando acá, obviamente a mis compañeros. La verdad que tenía mucha ganas, por eso hice el viaje a Medellín, así que nada, obviamente ya de a poquito voy conociendo a todos. Obviamente que todos los proyectos que me fueron dando cotidianamente, hablando con la familia, siempre es un plus, el aire nuevo. Y obviamente, ya lo dije en varias cosas, siempre fue un placer de poder coincidir obviamente con Leo, y obviamente más allá de que está Leo, también están todos los compañeros que lo he visto muchísimas veces o hemos enfrentado varias veces, y creo que ese proyecto es lo que también me genera la gana de poder estar acá, obviamente, y creo que hablándolo con la familia la hicimos bastante bien. Obviamente yo soy por ahí un jugador muy, muy intenso, que me gusta estar acompañando, ayudando al equipo, me gusta siempre apoyando, dar siempre cosas positivas dentro de la cancha, ser intenso, por decir de una manera, que el central piense y diga, wow, este no para de correr. Entonces soy uno de esos, y bueno, después obviamente con la calidad de mis compañeros me van a hacer muchos goles, así que estoy con muchas ganas de eso. Mi objetivo obviamente es seguir ganando títulos con este equipo, con esta camiseta. Como vos bien lo dijiste, ganaron una copa muy importante y hay que seguir por esa línea, porque todos estamos con esa ambición de seguir ganando, con esa ambición de que nunca te quedas, nunca te estancas. Entonces creo que eso es muy positivo para este equipo, y creo que vamos a ir por ese sueño, y después obviamente se van a venir muchos campeonatos por encima, y estar preparado porque hay que dar lo mejor en cada temporada.
All right, so Germán said that he was so excited to meet his teammates and the staff and everything. And he said, that's why I made this trip to Medellin. That was filmed in Medellin when he got there. He said, that's why I made this trip to Medellin, because I'm so eager and so excited to meet my new teammates and to meet the staff and to get started. He said, this is a breath of fresh air for me, a new change. I heard an interview that he had done in Mexico where he said, the only thing that would get me away from Monterrey is, if Messi, something really, really exciting, like if Messi says he wants to play for me or play with me or something like that. And that is actually what happened. He said, obviously this is a chance to play with Leo. He said, and all the other teammates, and that he's watched this team. He's been familiar with this team. He said, we have faced them. They faced them in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. He said he was asked to describe himself as a player. He said, I'm very, very intense. I like to provide a lot of positive energy. And it sounds like he's a very energetic player. He said, I'm the kind of guy that I want the center back to always be thinking, wow, this guy never stops running. So he likes to run. He likes to wear out the center backs. He said he's super excited to get going and to keep winning titles. That, you know, the key is, yes, this team won a very important title, but they have to keep winning titles and never settle.
It's funny because I was smiling and giggling because I'm like, for these superstar players, Messi is like Willy Wonka. It's like, here's your golden ticket. Come with me and experience this magical place where we can win championships together. It's like the golden ticket, like that, especially if you're from Argentina.
Yes, and he is. I mean, he does play for the Mexican team, but he is from Argentina. And for any Argentine player, when they get that call that says Lionel Messi's team is interested in you, it's a chance to play with an icon, a chance to play with the greatest of all time in most people's minds. Although, you know, obviously other people would argue Pelé, Ronaldo, whatever, but you know, surely one of the top three of all time.
Yeah,
probably
the Mount Rushmore for sure. Yeah, he's got the Mount Rushmore spot
for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he sounds like he's very excited to play with Lionel Messi, and again to prepare for the World Cup. He's going to be shooting for a spot on the Mexican national team, and it'll be pretty exciting for Inter Miami fans to have 3, potentially 4 World Cup players on this roster. So a lot to look forward to this summer.
Well, the second preseason game had a retro feel, Michelle. Luis Suarez got on the board. Pistolero.
El Pistolero, for all the people criticized, and they were, because in the previous game against Peru, he had a golden opportunity and he kind of blew it. He shanked it over the crossbar. And, you know, the critics were already saying, oh, see, look, more of the same. He's back to the same old thing. But then guess what? He scored. The only legit goal that they scored in Colombia was from Luis Suarez. He scored the goal. The second goal was an own goal that was set up by some plays by David Ruiz and Santi Morales, who came in late in the 91st minute. But, you know, for Luis Suarez, you know, I'm happy for him. This guy loves the sport so much. He wanted to come back for another year, despite people maybe trying to nudge him out the door. He wanted to stay and he wanted to play. And he said he wants to still keep competing for a spot. So he got a goal, and good for him. And as long as he can keep contributing and scoring goals every now and again, even 10, 12 goals, that's still more goals than most people on this team are scoring.
Right. And that game also included, obviously, we talked about Berterame's debut, but also Brazilian star Micael, who's on loan from Palmeiras, a team that played Miami in the Club World Cup last year. And we have Micael speaking a little bit about joining the club. Here it is.
Previo a llegar a Estados Unidos, ¿cómo te has logrado mantener en forma y qué expectativa tienes de llegar al campeón de la MLS?
Antes de chegar aqui eu estava muito ansioso para conhecer meus companheiros, conhecer, claro, o melhor jogador do mundo, o Messi. Chegou também com uma expectativa muito grande, como eles foram campeões ano passado e queremos buscar esse ano também.
So he was eager, like, to get here to meet Messi. The team was it's a champions team, so he was eager, like, to come here to meet everyone.
Mika, bom dia. ¿Cómo te sentiste en el primer partido en Colombia?
Me senti bem, vinha me preparando bem quando eu estava em férias e me senti bem confortável. Também a preparação quando eu cheguei aqui foi bem cômodo.
Obrigado.
Que foi de você a primeira vez que falou com o Messi, falou já com ele, e que a sua impressão de você jogar no Peru, aliás?
Quando eu falei com ele, fiquei muito surpreso, porque, querendo ou não, o melhor jogador do mundo, a gente fica um pouco emocionado, dizendo assim.
Can you translate that?
When I spoke with Messi, I was a little bit surprised, but also was was a really nice feeling because he's the best player in the world.
Can you ask him, having the experience that he had in Houston, how does that help him with understanding already the MLS?
Quando você jogou no Houston, essa experiência ajuda você a entender melhor a Liga Americana e jogar na MLS?
Sim, isso me ajuda. Acredito que por eu ter jogado no Houston, tenho um pouco de experiência nessa competição.
¿Alguna vez estuviste en un equipo con tantos argentinos?
No.
So not too talkative a guy yet. I guess it might be the language barrier too a little bit. He was kind of jumping around between Portuguese and Spanish and, English translator. Basically, Micael he's a center back. He had experience playing with the Houston Dynamo. So one of the benefits of signing him is that he has played in MLS before. Yes, he's coming from Palmeiras, but before Palmeiras, he was with Houston. So he has experience in MLS. He understands what this league is. He knows a lot of these teams already from when he was in Houston. Went to Palmeiras. Obviously, Brazilian player. We'll bring in some Brazilian fans too. They had Brazilian players for a while, but they haven't now. And now he comes in and, will be of interest to the Brazilian fans in South Florida, which there are many, many, many of them. And he said the first time he spoke to Messi, he was surprised. It was emotional for him to speak with him. Again, it keeps coming up. All these new players that come, it's always, what was it like to meet Messi? Is that a reason you came? And they all say the same thing, that it is not the only reason, but is definitely a reason that they're coming, is a chance to play with, as he called him, the greatest of all time. And so the back line, he didn't start, but he did get to come in. He and Berterame both made their debuts, and we got to see them play for the first time. The starting lineup in the back line for that game, this last game, was Facundo Mura on the right on the right back, and then Ian Frey and Maxi Falcone as center backs, and then Noah Allen on the left. And the reason is that Sergio Reguilon, that injury that we talked about last week, he has a knee sprain. He's going to be out indefinitely with a knee sprain. The good news is that it's not anything torn. It doesn't seem there's going to be any surgery or anything required, but he's going to be out for a period of time. So Noah Allen slid from center back to left back, and then Ian Frey moved to a center back position, which then allows Facundo Mura, who is traditionally a right back, to play at right back. Now you're going to have Micael in the mix at center back. That will add depth to that position.
Yeah, and then so looking like probably Reguilon is safe to say he's going to miss the opener for sure. I would think. It seems like, at least. Like you said, it's not a horrible injury, but lengthy enough.
Yeah, I don't probably, it's usually one of those 4 to 6 weeks, whatever. Then he has to come back and start training individually, and then they work his way back into working with the group. So I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not a doctor. I haven't seen his knee.
No.
But it would be tough. Yeah, it would be tough for him to be back for February 21st. February 21st.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like they somewhat at least dodged the bullet. At least it's not a torn ACL or something serious that could keep him out the whole season. Or
and it's a shame. It's a shame nonetheless, because he's a guy who's just coming in. He was coming in to replace Jordi Alba. He was so excited to show himself after being sort of out of the lineup for a long time in Tottenham, and then he comes here and almost immediately goes into the game. The first game gets injured, but anyway, it'll be interesting to see these new parts and how they all fit in, and it's difficult now because some of them have visas. Tadeo Allende still doesn't have his visa. I was going to bring this up later, but and Berterame is still also awaiting his U.S. visa, so they can play in South America, but they cannot play in the United States yet, or train in the United States. So
stuff you hope they have cleared up by in the next couple of weeks, or if not, they may be very shorthanded to facing an LAFC team, a very good LAFC team on the road in the opener. But another one of the pieces here.
No, I was going to say Messi. We haven't talked about how he's looked and whatever. They're easing him in. He played 72 minutes, so he's not playing 90. He hasn't played 90 in the 2 preseason games. I think they're letting him work his way up to the 90 minutes. He played 72 minutes in this last game, is playing well, he hasn't scored yet in the first 2 games, but he is playing well. He's playing more minutes each game. And I'm really curious to see how he does pair with Berterame. And then Tadeo Allende, who was one of the stars of the playoffs. The guy had 9 playoff goals, which was an MLS record. We haven't even seen him yet. He has not even been in training. He has not been in a game. He had gone back to Spain, to Celta Vigo. They finally worked out a permanent deal for him. But now he's in Argentina, waiting for his U.S. work papers to rejoin the team that he was working for all of last year. So it's very complicated, all of these visa situations, that this guy who played for Inter Miami literally in December was a star of this team. And now he has to wait for another visa because that visa that he had, I guess, expired. He has to wait for another visa. So we really haven't seen this team as we're going to see it. Javier Mascherano said after this last game, the team was more recognizable, was the word he used. This group was more recognizable the way it played to last year, but they're still not, we haven't seen the lineup that we're going to see on February 21st. We have not seen Berterame, and we've not seen Tadeo Allende. Those are 2 of the key players in the attack. We have not seen them playing all together with Messi.
And I'd go up. I'd be so bold as to say that if, depending on how long this takes to clear up all these issues, we may not see it on February 21st either. We may not see this true team maybe till March, once everything kind of falls into place and they get through those first couple games and hit their stride a little bit. So you could see a team that's still trying to find itself and gel, going into that matchup at the Coliseum and beyond. And as we know, as we've talked about at length, first 5 on the road.
First 5
until Freedom Park opens.
They're going to be away for the first 5 games, which is going to be a challenge. And they also have the CONCACAF Champions Cup in March. And this is a team that is still, some of the bigger parts of the team have not been training together full time right now. Tadeo Allende has not trained with the team at all. Berterame got to play some minutes, which is important because here he's not allowed, because he doesn't have his U.S. visa. He's in South Florida, but he's not allowed to train with the team. He can be hanging around, but he cannot train with the team until he gets his work visa. So he can play in these games in Latin America, but he can't play in the United States. So they really haven't had a chance to work as a group. They haven't had Tadeo Allende at all. Micael just came in last week. I think he practiced 2 days and then went and got some minutes in that game. So he's another guy that's just getting to know the team. Ayala is another one who's just getting to know the team. He came from Portland. So he got a chance to get some minutes in the preseason. And then another player that got to come in that we know, but we have not seen him in forever, was David Ruiz, the Miami kid, Little Havana, local youth club, made it through the Inter Miami Academy and plays for the Honduran national team. He's a rising star in Honduras. He's a really big star in Honduras, and he's from Miami, from Little Havana, homegrown kid. But he had a circulatory issue last year where his leg was getting numb. When he was running, one of his legs was experiencing numbness. And so they tried a bunch of different treatments. They were not able to fix it. And so he finally had to make a decision if he's going to have surgery or not. Having the surgery meant a very long very long time that he would not be able to play. And he decided to do it. And now he is back. He's healthy. He says he feels good. And he got a chance to play the other day and contributed in a way to the own goal because he had set up the pass to Santi Morales, and then that wound up being an own goal, from Nacional. So David Ruiz is back, and it's nice to have him back. He's a really nice kid. He suffered a lot last year, And he was asked what it's like to be back. Here's what he had to say.
Sí, algo que bueno, se tiene que competir cada día aquí en los entrenos, en los partidos, dar lo mejor que puede uno. Sabemos que bueno, hay mucha competencia en el medio campo, pero sé que se puede y bueno, hay que seguir trabajando hasta que se cumpla.
David, ¿en qué momento estás físicamente después de lo que pasó el año pasado? ¿Estás en ese escenario por cómo son las lesiones musculares en las que todavía tienes un poco de miedo o estás superado eso?
No, ya he superado todo, estoy al 100. Gracias a Dios ya estamos aquí de vuelta y bueno, primero que todo, bueno, tengo que estar siempre disponible y bueno, muy feliz de ya estar de vuelta.
¿Cómo fue ese procedimiento? Háblanos un poquito sobre la recuperación y el momento de tomar la decisión de parar por unos meses para estar listo ahora.
Sí, bueno, tenía un problema circulatorio. Sí, circulatorio. Que bueno, me tenían que hacer cirugía y bueno, es difícil tomar esa decisión, estar fuera del campo las finales, ya que bueno, ganamos la MLS Cup y todo, quería estar ahí, pero es una decisión que tenía que hacerlo para comenzar este año ya de cero. Y bueno, gracias a Dios ya me recuperé y estamos listos para competir por un sitio.
So David Ruiz said that, you know, he's ready. He's good. He feels good. He feels 100%. He said it was very difficult to make that decision. He had a circulatory problem. He had to decide whether to have surgery. He decided to have it, but it was really hard, he said, for him to sit out and watch the team make it all the way to the MLS Cup final. It was really difficult to sit and not be able to be part of that, but he wanted to do it so that he could start this year fresh. So he's starting fresh. He's feeling 100%. He said he's ready to compete for a spot, and he also wants to resume with the Honduran national team. He didn't say that here, but he said that further in that interview, that he's looking forward to getting back onto the field with Honduras as well. So it's nice to have him more depth in the midfield for Inter Miami with a local kid. It's always nice to see some of these locals get a chance to play, and it'll be nice to see if David Ruiz can contribute this year.
Yeah, for sure. Good that he's got that was a weird issue too, and kind of scary sounding. So good that that got cleared up for sure. Yeah. Speaking of new additions, Dane St. Clair, the results were better in this game. How did he look back there? How's he getting more comfortable at this point?
Yeah, he's getting a little more comfortable. You know, it's an adjustment. Obviously, he spent 7 years in Minnesota with the same team, and they don't have as much turnover in most of the teams around MLS as this one does. So I think he was around a lot of the same players for quite some time. For 7 years, he was with that team. And all of a sudden now he comes here, and this is not your average team. You know, you've got Lionel Messi, you've got Rodrigo de Paul, you've got all these guys. And then all of the attention that it draws. This team is very different playing for this team. Everybody speaks Spanish, which he's going to talk about in a minute here, about this, what it's like to adjust to this team. And just being on a team that has the global spotlight on it all the time. But that is something that he wanted. He really wanted to play under pressure because he's on the Canadian national team. He is vying for a starting position with the Canadian national team for the World Cup. And he wants to be tested in games that are high pressure games. So even these preseason games with Inter Miami, he's playing in front of big, loud, raucous stadiums in Peru and Colombia and coming up in Ecuador. That's not happening if he's in Minnesota. If he's in Minnesota, he's playing sometimes behind closed door scrimmages or other games against other MLS teams, against USL teams. It's not the same level of pressure in the preseason as the Inter Miami team has. The Inter Miami team is, you know, from the get-go, boom, 5 days in, they're in Peru and people are chasing down the team bus. And, you know, and this is preseason, 5 days into training camp. But that's what he wanted. One of the reasons that he said he came here when I interviewed him last month was that he wanted that. He wants that high-pressure cooker situation because he thinks that's going to help him prepare for the World Cup. So he's getting adjusted. I asked him, he just got his visa papers too, by the way. So up until this week, he was able to play in Peru and Colombia, but he was not legally able to train with the team in the U.S. on U.S. soil. Now he is. He has his visa paperwork. He was at training on Wednesday. He was at training, and we got a chance to talk to him on the training site for the first time. And this is what he had to say.
So, first of all, I'm assuming the weather, this is like balmy for you compared to what you're used to. Can you just talk about the adjustment so far? How do you feel so far, the adjustment coming from Minnesota for so many years to here? What have you learned in the short time you've been here about this team, and especially in the first two games?
Definitely learning Spanish. Obviously I knew a little bit from before, but just more so adjusting to that. I think anytime you go to a new team, no matter where it is, you're just trying to see how things operate and how you kind of can fill in, and then how you can help and contribute to the team. So that's kind of where I've been at since I've been here, is just kind of taking kind of a step back and seeing how I can fill in and play my role to the best of my ability.
How do you deal with the language barrier? Because it is obviously a very Hispanic team. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, learn Spanish and take lessons, which I'll be starting this week, so looking forward to that. But I think in Minnesota too, we had a lot of Spanish defenders, so I was able to learn enough things on the field and feel comfortable for the most part. I think soccer is kind of a global language, where I've played with guys all over the world, so of course it can be a little bit of a hindrance at first, but I think once you kind of understand and get to know people, you can figure out the communication. And of course there's guys that speak both and coaches that speak both to be able to help out in those key moments as well.
Yeah, so here's the situation. Drake Callender had the same situation. Now, last year they had Oscar Ustari, who's from Argentina. They had Rocco Rios Novo, who's an Argentine-Mexican player. So it was a very Hispanic defense, and they were able to, the goalkeeper could speak Spanish and understand his defenders, Noah Allen and Ian Frey being the two exceptions. They are the two English speakers. No, they've already learned over all these years enough Spanish to get by, and that's what Dane is going to have to do. That's what Drake always talked about. Also, you're in the back. And being a goalkeeper, being a communicator is a big part of that role. You are a communicator. You're kind of guiding the back line, and he is having to learn some more Spanish. He did say Dane was asked, what words do you know? Like he said, he knows some directional words. He said he knows izquierda, which is left. He knows derecha, which is right. And he knows sube, which means like move up right. The field.
The basics he needs.
I know derecha, I know izquierda, I know sube. So he knows to tell the defenders, move to the left, move to the right, or move up the field. He does know those three instructions. But he said he's going to start taking lessons this week to learn more and to get more adjusted. And once again, one of the things he talked about also is about, wanting to be in peak form with Canada being one of the co-hosts of the World Cup. He really wants to be in peak form, and he's excited that they're playing all of these big games so soon, so that he feels that by the time the World Cup comes around, he's going to be in very good form.
He's probably going to learn the bad words fast, too, just from hearing them get shouted around on the field all the time. You know how the trash talking happens in these games very easily. It's good that he's learning the basics, though.
Yeah, the basics. And the way it works with this team, to be honest, almost the entire team speaks Spanish. Almost the entire team, Spanish is the first language. Most players on this particular team speak no English. The English speakers really are very few. It's right. Noah Allen, it's Ian Frey, it's Yannick Bright. As far as total English speakers, they are the main English speakers on the team. Everyone else, Spanish is the first language, and that is how they communicate. The way it works is that Javier Mascherano actually does speak decent English, because he played in England and he picked up some English there, and he speaks decent English. And then Javi Morales, the assistant coach, really acts as a translator, between the Anglo players and the Hispanic players. So you've got Javier Mascherano speaking some English, and then whatever he doesn't know, Javi Morales steps in and acts as translator. Santi Morales also speaks both languages. David Ruiz speaks both languages. They're both fully bilingual. So, that helps a lot. And by the way, I mentioned Yannick Bright. Ayala started in place of Yannick Bright in this game against Colombia. So I don't know if that is how it's going to be, or if that was just Javier Mascherano testing to see what he looks like in the starting lineup. But Yannick Bright did not start the game against Colombia.
Yeah, that's probably Morales' job, one of the most important on this team, to really to really be able to be like the bridge communicator between everybody, if you think about it, so yeah, it's something that little by little part of the acclimation process for a player like Dane St. Clair, and important, like I said before. I know, all kidding aside, good that he's kind of developing that already a little bit with his teammates ahead of the season. So two more of these left, right, Michelle, in the preseason tour. The next one being against Barcelona, not that Barcelona de Guayaquil in Ecuador. The game this Saturday at 7:00 Eastern time. Going to be broadcast by your favorite new crew, Michelle, those One Football guys.
Oh yeah, sarcasm. The One Football for $4.99. You do get to watch it, and it's they're learning. They're figuring out the team. It's the best they can do. They're doing their best, but obviously they are not announcers who are very familiar with all these teams and all these players and MLS. They're just there to provide some commentary as the game is going on. But yes, that game is this Saturday against a team that has the most titles of any team in Ecuador. They've won their league 16 times. So they are the most decorated team. This past year, they were in third place, but they're always a contender. They've won the title 16 times. And what I'm really disappointed in is I didn't realize that they had changed coaches. And I'm pretty bummed because I was looking forward to see their coach, Segundo Castillo, who was the coach last year. It was a former player and then the coach. His nickname was El Elegante, the elegant, like Mr. Elegant. And he is known for his sideline fashion statements. And during Copa Libertadores, he went viral all over the world because he was wearing some very flashy tuxedos to every game. Would show up on the sideline wearing a sparkly tuxedo, a pink tuxedo with bow ties to match. He really made a big statement with his tuxedos, and that's what a lot of people knew that team who didn't really know much about Ecuadorian soccer. They knew about that team because their coach is the one who wears tuxedos to the games. I was actually looking forward to seeing what he's going to be wearing to this match. And then as I did my research for the preview, I'm like, oops, he's not the coach anymore. So now we have a Venezuelan coach. I don't think he's going to be wearing tuxedos, although who knows? Cesar Farias, who has a long coaching history. He's coached club. He's coached national teams, Venezuelan national team coach. He's coached all over the place in Latin America. And he took over just 2 weeks ago, I think January 21st. He became the coach, and they let go of El Elegante. El Elegante, he's going to have to wear his tuxedo somewhere else. And Cesar Farias is the coach of this team. This will be an opportunity. We don't know yet if Tadeo Allende is going to be playing in this game. He is eligible to play in South America, even if he doesn't have his U.S. work visa. So maybe we would get a first chance to see him this year in that game. That is still unknown. We haven't had a chance. On Friday, we're going to speak to Javier Mascherano. That's the only time we'll get to speak to him this week is Friday, so we can ask him some of those eligibility questions of who should we expect to see on the field or at the stadium on Saturday. But it'll be another game where Berterame should be able to play. Micael will be able to play. All these new guys will be able to blend and mesh one more time. And like you said, this is the third of 4. After that, they're going to play in Puerto Rico against another Ecuadorian team. And then it's time for the real deal, February 21st.
Yeah. Another chance for valuable reps for these guys, hopefully. And it seems like just the bigger issues now are getting these visa, holdups cleared and being able to get this team up. Get this team in the United States at full strength for the season as soon as possible. So they're there. For those of you paralleling maybe LAFC, trying to see what's up with them, they have a friendly on Sunday at 3:00 that's going to be broadcast on YouTube. They're playing New York City FC. As we know, was a semifinalist in the last MLS season that Miami took down to win the Eastern Conference Championship. So a good early season matchup there. And then they have a Champions Cup early game a few days before they take on Inter Miami on the 21st. So kind of interesting how Miami, like you said, on the road, the traveling rock star show in South America, while meanwhile their first opponent is also getting their reps in, but in a more controlled, I guess you could say, environment.
Yeah, I was going to use the word controlled. Most of the MLS teams are training in a much more controlled setting, whether they're home or whether they did a little training camp somewhere. Most of them are staying in the U.S. There have been a couple of exceptions, but most of the games are in the U.S. against other U.S. teams. There are even closed door scrimmages. I mean, this is how it used to be. When Phil Neville was the coach here, pre-Messi, the preseason was very, very low key. They would be a typical preseason match for Inter Miami was playing the Charleston Battery in South Carolina. They were playing those type of games behind closed doors. The media couldn't even watch the games.
Right.
We couldn't even watch the preseason games. We were not allowed. It was behind closed doors, and we were fishing around trying to find the score of the game and trying to see who started and trying to see who scored. And now, since Messi got here, the preseason is a world tour. In this case, 4 countries. The year before, 5 countries. Last year, obviously, they went to Asia. They went to South America, Asia 2 years ago, South America, the Middle East, all over the place to prepare. So, yeah, it's a very different traveling circus when it's Messi. Meanwhile, LAFC, like you said, will be preparing. But, it's going to be interesting that they have a Champions Cup game.
Right, in Honduras.
In Honduras before they play this first season opener. So that is going to be a similar situation. But that's a real game.
Right.
That's not a preseason game. That is a real game with real ramifications. So they are going to we're going to get a good look at exactly.
And it's only 4 days before the MLS opener against Miami too. So are they going to be tired? Is anybody going to get injured? So there are some downsides to being LAFC if you have to play 4 days before in a foreign country in a game that matters, in a game that really matters for CONCACAF Champions Cup. 4 days before you're going to face this crew out at the LA Coliseum. So very interesting. February is going to be an interesting month. Of course, if you're Inter Miami or an Inter Miami fan, you're looking at that situation for LAFC and saying, "Oh, cry me a river. We only did that like 20 times last year when we had to play 3 days rest."
Exactly. So this team is actually going to have a week. This team will be on more rest than they will be. This team is going to have their game on the 13th, so they'll have a full week plus 1. To get ready, and LAFC will be coming off of a big game in Honduras.
Well, we'll be back next week to talk a little bit about how it went in Ecuador for the club and as they continue to get acclimated with each other and hopefully get some of the off-field stuff resolved in time for the regular season to commence, as we said before, February 21st against LAFC at the LA Coliseum. Until then, thank you for watching Inside Inter Miami. Remember, as always, catch us at MiamiHerald.com or on YouTube. Catch all of Michelle's work there. She continues to document this South American preseason tour and beyond. And we'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, enjoy the soccer, everybody. Thank you for watching Inside Inter Miami.